Now, Pavarotti was a good friend.
Hello. Welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti. I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions. I'm not here to slander. Let's get started. What I want to do in this video is applaud Bubbly Waters for the work that she is doing as it relates to what I feel like is the most proven logical path to what truly happened in this atrocity. And y'all all know how I feel and what I've uncovered. And she has taken it a step further. I watched a video that she did the other day, and I'd like to discuss her findings in this, because she's starting to look at an aspect of it that, really hadn't occurred to me to dive any deeper into. And that is the connection from Brent Kopacka, the gentleman I refer to as Alpaca, to dive deeper into the connection of Alpaca and TF. And it just makes logical sense now that I've watched her video that obviously, in my theory, let's back up just a minute. In my theory, the perpetrators of this crime, they had to have a patsy. They wouldn't have gone in and done this without one, because they've been to prison enough times and they're educated enough to know that the investigation into a homicide, and they thought it was going to be 2, ended up being 4. So, but even 2 was enough for them to know unaliving 2 college students, much less 4, was going to create an investigation that was not going to stop. And unless they gave them a stopping point, which means a perpetrator for them to arrest, that the odds of them getting caught eventually would have been pretty high, no matter how well it was planned and executed. So they had to have somebody to put it off on. Now, it is my belief that the actual perpetrators of this crime were not from the Moscow area. The actual perpetrators of this crime would have relied on intelligence from people within the Moscow area. They would have relied on intelligence from TR and TF mainly. But for them to find the proper patsy, that would have taken some doing. I mean, who do you set up for this crime? Why would you set the guy up that you set up? And when you start looking at it from that aspect, Mr. Kopacka would have been a prime candidate for the patsy. He had a known history of substance abuse and having mental episodes from that substance abuse. I don't know if they took into consideration much his past military service, but it's quite possible that Brent Kopacka had it's quite possible he had some episodes where maybe he got into fights or showed the ability to produce violence by his locals there. And we know when we watch the video of him in the hotel room where he was having what I clearly describe as an episode of what's called METH-induced psychosis. And that's what happens when somebody who has underlying mental illnesses abuse METH a little bit too much. It's a lot easier for them to have mental breakdowns when it comes to being paranoid and showing those types of psychoses. That's just a fact. So I believe that's what he was experiencing, and it wouldn't take a whole lot of METH for him to experience that, considering his previous mental health issues. So during that episode, though, he was proclaiming to law enforcement that there were people after him. So that does give us a history of people possibly wanting to harm Mr. Kopacka there in town. And who would be the prime candidates to assist in setting up somebody like Mr. Kopacka? And you can bet it would be other users who are utilizing the same source as Mr. Kopacka, because those are the easiest ones to manipulate. You see, those users, when they have a supply, they will, they'll do just about anything that their steady dealer tells them to do. So setting up Mr. Kopacka and finding the bridge from TF and TR to Mr. Kopacka is a very intelligent way to go about looking into things, and that's what Bubbly Waters is doing, and she's starting to uncover a few things. Now, it's quite possible that the roommates that were involved with Mr. Kopacka were advocating on his behalf. We've never heard a 911 call for the Kopacka incident, but it's been stated that he was threatening his roommates. So who better than his roommates that supposedly he was threatening to set up Mr. Kopacka for the fall? If they're the ones who told law enforcement that they were being threatened by him, and law enforcement went in and had a standoff and unalived him, well, then the prime candidates for the people who set him up with law enforcement would be the ones that told law enforcement that he was threatening them. And that was his roommates. Now, they came out after that advocating on his behalf, which I would expect them to do, but it certainly seems fishy. And let's take a look at just a short clip from the video that I'm speaking of that Bubbly Waters did that starts to dive into this.
Now we've got this car. This car right here, in my humble opinion, looks a lot like this car. Hold on. So I think it looks a lot like this car. Let's see if I can find a better picture. Don't worry about that guy. So the one who's driving this car is this guy right here, Justin Heath Olson. He was, they arrested him, but for unknown, they don't know why they arrested him. They just did, just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. This is him driving the red car. So he was the driver the night that Kopacka's roommate called 911. This is who was driving Jordan around, was this guy in the red car. He is an ex-later deputy sheriff. Yeah. Okay, let's see what I can find here. And this is the one who called the 911, who claims that his best friend is Brett Kopacka, and then he feels really bad about it. That blah, 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 blah. Yeah. This guy claims he's schizophrenic. And, is that what he said? Schizophrenic? Yeah. And that he takes medication.
So there you have it. I think that is an excellent route to go, Bubbly. I think you're doing great. Figuring out the connection between those two and how they could correlate possibly to setting up Mr. Kopacka and getting him out of the way. That was probably something that wasn't originally planned, but something that they came up with that needed to happen fairly soon after, as the investigation into Kopacka wasn't moving along quite as quick as I'm sure the perpetrators would have liked. So if they weren't leading law enforcement to Kopacka quick enough, getting rid of Kopacka would have been a way to get them to him a lot quicker. So good job. I think you're barking up the right tree. The other thing that, if you have time, because I know you're excellent at that, the arrest of TF in Spokane. That one is hidden very, very well. I believe it was a federal arrest, but I believe he wasn't alone when he was arrested. If you can dig in to help me find the arrest of TF in Spokane, I think it's going to open up a lot of doors for us to go in and explore the rooms once those doors are open. So thank you, Bubbly. I think you do a great job, and I appreciate you looking into it. Folks, please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, post your thoughts, post anything you'd like to post. And until next time, Pavarotti's out.